friends, how soon the diesel cars could become a thing of the past in India? And why only diesel is being targeted? Why not gasoline? What is the impact of banning diesel cars in future in India? These are the topics which we will cover in this video. Vehicles that are powered by fossil fuels such as gasoline, petrol or diesel, etc. are going to be phased out gradually. It is one of the three most important parts of the general fossil fuel phase out process. The others being the phase out of fossil fuel power plants, and the other one is decarbonization of the industry. The reasons for banning further sale of fossil fuel vehicles include reducing health risks from pollution, meeting national greenhouse gas such as carbon dioxide targets under international agreements such as Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. The intent of banning vehicles powered by fossil fuel is attractive to governments as it offers a simpler compliance target compared with a carbon tax or a phase out of fossil fuels as such. Since a sudden stoppage of fossil fuels is not practical, a gradual phase out will be the way forward. The diesel cars could be the first casualty in this roadmap for defossilization. Around the world, diesel has been seen in recent years as being more environmentally hazardous than petrol or LPG or CNG, things like that. That's why there are tighter restrictions on diesel vehicles in India. Diesel cars are more fuel efficient. However, diesel engines emit higher levels of particulate matter, PM, what we call the tiny bits of soot residue from the combustion process. They also produce more nitrogen oxides, NOx. Diesel engines also produce higher levels of greenhouse gas emissions. In 2013, 48% of the passenger car vehicles in India were of diesel cars. At that time, the price of 1 liter of diesel was sharply lower than the petrol rate. However, after the decontrol of automobile fuel prices late 2014, the difference in the rates between the two fossil fuels, petrol and diesel, decreased. Eventually, the sale of diesel cars fell, accounting for sale of little less than 20% of total passenger vehicles as of now. With the advancements of technology, petrol cars have become more and more fuel efficient and they're becoming closer to diesel cars. The fuel efficiency gap between petrol and diesel cars have reduced significantly, making petrol cars more viable options for the consumers. In India, a report commissioned by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas has recommended the banning of use of diesel-powered four-wheeler vehicles in cities with population of over 10 lakh by 2027. This is a recommendation, not yet been accepted, but the report also advocates phasing out of motorcycles, scooters and three-wheelers with internal combustion engine by 2035. This report also called for a ban on the addition of diesel city buses in the urban areas in approximately 10 years from now. The panel suggested that four-wheelers, including passenger cars and taxis, should partially shift to electric and partially to ethanol blended petrol with almost 50% share in each category. The report suggests boosting the use of natural gas, which is less polluting, transitioning electric vehicles with CNG as a transition fuel for the next 10-15 years. The report favored new registrations of only electric powered city delivery vehicles from 2024 and suggested higher use of railways and gas powered trucks for the movement of cargo. You know, in India today, the diesel makes almost 2/5, that means 40% of the refined fuel consumption. Out of that, 80% being used in the transport sector. This proposal, if accepted, will dramatically hasten what has so far been a gradual movement towards cleaner fuels. But it will also cause serious disruption in the transport sector and also will impact both companies and citizens. Imposing a complete ban on the diesel would be difficult in India, at least in the near future or far future, because of many factors. It is going to affect the complete society. The car makers have already invested huge sums in order to comply with the government's emission norms by transitioning their vehicles from BS4 to BS6. Even diesel vehicles have transformed from BS4 to BS6. The experts say that investment could go to drain in case of a total ban, which is not possible just like that. Secondly, commercial vehicles like trucks, buses mostly run on diesel, and thus a complete ban would lead to intense disruption. Car makers have already been taking actions to reduce reliance on diesel vehicles gradually. You see, Maruti Suzuki, India's largest passenger vehicle maker, stopped manufacturing diesel vehicles from 1st April 2020. Hyundai Motor, HMIL, is considering to stop providing diesel options to their sedans. In many countries, including European Union, emission standards for diesel vehicles have historically been less stringent as compared to gasoline vehicles. This has led to larger number of older diesel vehicles with outdated emission control technologies on the roads. This is a fact. The old vehicles are more polluting. The focus on diesel vehicles should not necessarily imply that gasoline vehicles are exempt from the regulations or that they are entirely clean. Transitioning to electric vehicles or other cleaner alternatives is a broader goal for reducing emissions from all types of vehicles in the long term. The axe may fall first on diesel, but then gradually it will come to the other fossil fuels like gasoline. One positive aspect of banning new diesel vehicles could be that will drive the innovation and encourage more development of cleaner and more sustainable transportation technologies. It can spur the adoption of advancement of electric vehicles and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles and things like that, alternate fuel technologies. However, a ban on diesel vehicles may require the development of supporting infrastructure, such as more and more charging stations for the electric vehicles and hydrogen refueling stations, and a lot of infrastructure expansion development is required. The banning of diesel vehicles could have social and economic consequences for the vehicle owners, particularly, and even the companies who produce diesel vehicles. So government may need to provide incentives to support the programs to facilitate a smooth transition. When diesel vehicles, if at all banned in India in future, the fate of all vehicles will depend on the specific regulations and the policies implemented. Government may adopt a phase-out approach where the older vehicles are gradually phased out over the time. This can involve implementing stricter emission standards and age limits for the vehicles, gradually reducing the permissible age of the diesel vehicles on the roads. In some cases, government may encourage or require retrofitting or upgrading the older diesel vehicles with cleaner technologies and emission control devices. The government also may introduce scrappage schemes that incentivize the owners to voluntarily retire their old diesel vehicles in exchange for the financial incentives or other benefits. The scrap vehicles are to be sent to the authorized recycling centers to ensure proper disposal and recycling of materials. There may be exemptions and specific restrictions for certain categories of diesel vehicles. For example, commercial vehicles like trucks and buses may have different regulations as compared to the private vehicles. Government may also introduce restricted zones or low emission zones where only vehicles meeting specific emission standards are allowed to enter, effectively limiting the use of older diesel vehicles in those areas. It's important for the governments to provide clear guidelines, transition plans, and support mechanisms to assist vehicle owners during this transition period. If you see the LDV sector in India, 34% of diesel consumption, whereas gasoline is around 56 to 60%. Electric vehicles are very low, maybe less than 1% penetration as of now. The natural gas is around maybe 7 to 8%. And by the time we touch 2040, the way things are projected, the diesel percentage has to come down to around 25% or even less, and gasoline percentage has to come around 40 to 45%. The hybrid has to go up to maybe 20%, electric has to go up to maybe 5%, natural gas may increase up to 10%. This is just a projection people are making, but once we should understand that a complete ban of diesel is just not practical, and it is going to take a long period in the roadmap. So it is going to be a gradual phase out. Maybe the new diesel vehicles can be banned, but it will still take a longer time for gradually phasing out the older vehicles which are on the roads.